It's a little different color, but this was one of the world title ones. So I got to hold this up after the fight. And after 12 rounds, so they're actually kind of, so you fight for 12 rounds, and then you have to lift this thing up. You have some adrenaline going, but usually your arms are tired. So, yeah. It's not like a heavyweight where they can lift up the belts and it would feel like a little stick or something. But for me, it was quite heavy. Yeah.
Can I ask you a quick question, Scotty? Absolutely. Just from Canada perspective and US perspective and physical education, that you're growing up with PE, how was that experience? Because I hear Canada is doing some incredible things with physical education. You guys from the top, it's very important to the community to be fit.
Yeah, I think it's almost, I would expect it. It is getting stronger here, but I think it's worldwide. I think people do want to be healthier.
Yes.
They are trying to exercise and get out a little bit more, be outside, but not stuck in the house. So just having that motivation to get out is so important. For us, as long as you don't have any health problems that hold you back from doing too much. Like my health has, I've suffered quite a bit, so it's hard for me to be as fit as I sure would like to be a lot fitter. But you have to be able to adapt and work around your circumstances. So there is really not too much of a reason where you can't get a little bit of a workout here and there. You have to work around the injuries and the health issues you may have.
Yes. They're lucky in San Francisco. There's so many diverse environments that kids can engage in. There's all kinds of places they can enjoy exercise.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And just having something productive or something to do with your free time. It's so important as well. Having something to do in your free time. And yeah, I mean, it's important just to make sure that you keep yourself busy. There can be a lot of things to bring a person down as opposed to elevate and lift them up. And if they can be doing something constructive with their time for students and kids and young adults going into adulthood, yeah, I think it's really important just to stay busy and you only get one kind of go around in life. So, why not try to enjoy some of these wonderful things life can bring us.
Great message. Thank you.
Thank you. So we're going to start with our little presentation that we have, while we're waiting. I believe Commanders is bringing her class still, but we're going to go ahead and start. We got 9:13 and we have a lot of questions we have asked. So this is our norms for our meetings, and I know everybody are very respectful, but just a reminder to polite, respectful, positive. Hold on. All right, now they're coming in. Yes. Now that I started everybody. So positive, respect, and responsibility. Thank you. Puma Press. Please remind of your core values. And then also I wanted to add this 8 little traits, and I want you guys to think about which ones our speaker today presents. We have the 8 traits of sports person. And we have the privilege today of having Scotty Olson here with us. We appreciate your time and we thank you for being here and helping us in these tough moments to inspire us and to get us motivated going. So I'm gonna just go really quickly through this ones. We got, read it for me while I let someone in. Courage, the strength of mind to carry on in spite of danger and difficulty. judgment, integrity, the quality of being honest and having strong morals, kindness, perseverance, respect, responsibility, self-discipline. So all those traits are important for to be successful, right? And we'll see, think about which ones you think are world champion. Scotty Olson shows. So Scotty Olson is here with us today. He is the IBO World Flight 112-pound champion when he defeated Roger Espanola in 1994. And he did it right at home, which is a nice extra cherry on the cake, Scotty. And he's also the first Canadian to win a gold medal in the Commonwealth Games. The Commonwealth Games is something that I'm also just learning. I wanted to show you where Canada is. It's right above us. So that was just a little note. These are all the countries that participate in the Commonwealth Games. A lot of the African countries, a lot of them. And so it was a privilege for him to, I think, right? These are all of the ones he participated in the, well, which ones was Edinburgh, 1986.
86, yes.
86. So this one, in 1986, it was in Scotland, and only 26 countries. I guess there was it was not good times at that time. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that. Yeah, the Commonwealth countries, 26. So some of the sports that are participating, 10 sports are athletics, aquatics, synchronized swimming, badminton, boxing, cycling, low balls, rowing, shooting, weightlifting, and wrestling. So this is very exciting to be part of. But he is one of our champions. And he has his nickname is Bulldog. Bulldog, because he was really strong on upper body, in the upper body, right? And hitting the body. He's also participated in 1988 Olympic Games in Seoul. And he represented Canada in 1987 Pan American Games. He went pro in 1990 and retired in 2002 with 34 and 2. He's inducted in the Alberta Hall of Fame. So you have quite a credentials. And I just wanted to show just a little piece of this. Let's see, of his boxing skills, boxing matches. Great. Well, here you are. Let's see, I'm going to stop sharing our screen, and now we're going to feature you. And again, one more time, thank you to Mr. Scotty. We have 57 people so far attending this presentation, and we want to thank you again one more time for being here with us. And how are you doing today? How do you feel?
Oh, for myself or for the class, or myself?
Yeah, you can talk to the class now.
I wasn't sure who you were asking there. So yeah, I'm doing fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Always nice to talk to young people. You know, it really is a blessing. And I've had so many younger people who are now older that have said that they've approached me, and they've been able to speak with me at certain times in their lives. And it's nice that it's been memorable for them. So yeah, really, really a special time to talk to young people.
Awesome, thank you. So we do have a lot of questions, and at any time, the students that are here and the adults, you can type on the chat some of the questions as well. Ms. Ramirez and myself are going to be checking in the chat. So at any time, if you see a nice questions, go ahead and throw it in. But I would like to start with when you first started. How old were you? You want to tell us about when you first started. How old were you? Where were you?
Sure. Well, here in Canada, we're sort of in Canada. I'm sort of straight up north of Montana or so. So if you go straight up north from Montana, then you'd end up finding where I live, which is in Edmonton. So I started when I was 14 years old. So at 14, just a little bit before my 14th birthday, I was in a shopping mall with my mom, and she had recognized a former pro fighter, of just a former pro fighter that had been really good in our area. And I wasn't into boxing, and I didn't know anything about it. But we sat him down, and he spoke to me, and his name was Al Ford, and he had some cuts over his eyes, and his nose was a little bit crooked. And then I told my mom after meeting him, after he would told me some boxing stories. He said, I told my mom that I wanted to be a boxer. I wanted to be just like him.
Wow.
But I didn't have any athletic ability. So I was athletic wise, like I was never good at any sports. Like I tried baseball and swimming and judo and all these sports. And I gave a lot of things a try, and I just wasn't any good at it. I wasn't very good in my gym class in PE. So it was very difficult for me to get any. My mom didn't want me to start boxing. So if you're a mom and you have a son that has no athletic ability, and the last thing you'll let him do is be a boxer. So she didn't like me. But then my family kicked in, and they bought me a heavy bag for Christmas, and I beat this thing up for 6 months downstairs. But I didn't even have gloves. I just used my bare hands. So my hands would be often, pretty bloody and pretty sore. So I beat this thing up, but I was skipping school to hit the heavy bag. So I was not at school. I was hitting the heavy bag all day, every day. And once they found out I was skipping, my mom said, "Okay, I'll let you try boxing, but you have to go back to school." So that was the trade-off. Was I had to stay in school, and then I would be allowed to go to a boxing gym and try it out. That's sort of that story.
Your mom was very smart. Keep you in school, you want something, I'll give you something. That's exactly how I think sports should be used, as a motivation to us to get better in school and in person.
He's still having trouble.
Okay. let's see, we have a question from Bernard. How has the discipline of boxing or any sports as a young age help you in your adult years?
Well, with boxing, for a lot of different sports, and particularly boxing, because uh, it's more of a one-on-one sort of a sport, so it's not really a team, so you don't have much of a team. So having just a one-on-one sport where you are uh, working on your own self on a daily basis, and you end up building confidence within yourself. So the confidence starts increasing, but then you want to make sure that that confidence doesn't, that you remain humble even in getting extra confidence. Remain humble and make sure that even though you might be excelling at a sport or doing what you do, your head's not getting bigger at the same time. So that's important. And just a little bit of, there was that part you had with integrity and treating people in a nice and fair and kind, compassionate way. You know, those are great things that confidence can help build. Once your confidence gets a little bit better, then and starts to grow, I think your integrity, I think you look at life a little bit better. uh, you see opportunities, uh, and you can work on setting goals and setting uh, just your just trying to achieve certain things. You're able to be a little more focused uh, and more motivated, because you know you're trying something and it seems to be working out a little bit, so you put a little extra time and effort into it. So yeah, that's I find that just the integrity comes with some confidence, and just being able to treat people right, no matter what sport it is, and no matter how good you are at it. You know, it's not all about winning all the time. You know, it's all about participating and to be having fun. And I missed out on being involved in team sports. So it was, you know, there was so much fun, more excitement that happens when you're a team and you're trying to go ahead and do something. It also helps because if somebody on the team makes a mistake, it's not always your mistake. So as a boxer, as a single person, if you make a mistake, we can't toss the blame over to anybody else.
That's really good, especially you know, we do have a lot of kids who they think, thank you for your message, they think they have no sports, no talent to something, but this applies to anything they want to do. Just emphasize practice, and they'll get better at it. Be persevere.
Absolutely. Well, I'm only 5 feet tall, so I'm not a big person. And I was always not only the smallest person in my class, I was the smallest in my school. So because of the size difference, and uh, that really put me, I was always trying to be good, but I never could become as good as the other kids in so many things with any sport. But when I tried boxing, you know, I naturally transferred my weight, which allowed me to have this extraordinarily good punching power. So, and I could take a punch, and those were the two assets as an athlete. Just that I could punch hard and I could take a punch. So getting into boxing was the right thing.
That's perfect. That was actually one of the questions that one of our students here asked. What would you advise to someone who wants to get into sports but doesn't think they're good enough? That's exactly, just keep working, have some confidence, right?
Yes.
Can I add something?
Hi, Julieta. We have Julieta here. She's
Hi, Scotty and Mr. Amir is there, Olga. I was a wrestler with Miss Camacho, but just want to add a few things. I'm not going to say too much, but since you know, boxing and wrestling, we are very unique, of course, difficult kind of how to choose a sport. The biggest advantage we have is that it does not discriminate how tall you are, how small you are, your weight and everything. And that's the good part of you know, our sport, that everybody can enter, you know, all type of bodies. And this is the most universal, you know, to be chosen that way. So in Bulgaria, I'm from Bulgaria, we say for every train, they say passengers. That's how people choose. You saw this guy and it's like, wow, I want to be just like him. You saw quality and everything, and you kind of analyze, maybe calculate it. And it's like, yeah, according to who I am, that's what I want to be. And that's how I want to channel my energy. But yeah, you did good. You chose well. And back in Bulgaria, in all these communist countries, we had coaches who will come to the schools, and according to your physical components, and they will know your parents. You know, that's how the system was. That's why in the Soviet Union and everything, they will come and they say, you know, 5'4", your parents 5'2", or they're 6'2", you have a potential, you want to go to this sport. And that's how they used to come and choose us. And then when you grow a little bit, you go to 7th, 8th grade, you might change your sport a little bit, but basically they're very good how they choose. So you did your natural selection to become a boxer, and I guess that's the perfect choice. I just want to add that there's no, everybody belongs somewhere, and for every sport, for every train there's a passengers, for every train there's different sports. So that's what I want to say. Nice to meet you.
Thank you so much. No, that, yes. I mean, thank you very much for that. You find out pretty quickly if boxing's for you or not. It doesn't take too long. Like sometimes you might play baseball and it's going good for a little bit and you continue to get better. But with boxing, you sort of know if it's something you want to do, because it's not for everybody. As soon as you get popped in the nose pretty good, then you know if you want to stick with it or maybe try something else. But it's that is so interesting, because I fought in Bulgaria twice as an amateur fighter, and I fought a guy in Bulgaria just before the Olympics, and he ended up being the Olympic gold medalist.
Ivailo Marinov, you taught Ivailo Marinov, who is our Olympic champion.
Yeah, I fought him. Oh yeah.
Yes.
He was an incredible fighter, and it was crazy because we fought in an outside place, in a place called Albania, Bulgaria.
Summer resort next to my hometown.
yeah, right on the Albania. So, and we were fighting, and they had a gong, and he was such a brilliant boxer. So every time I would swing and I would miss, because I would swing for the fences and try to get him. I never hit him, I don't think, once in the whole fight. I couldn't get him. He was so fast. And he, anyway, so after the fight, I hadn't really hit him, and I lost the fight by a decision. And he ended up winning the gold medal right after, just a couple months later in the Olympics. So that was a very, very nice opportunity for me to have fought. You know, I was fighting all those top guys at that level. And he was
very good. That's a very honorable, because he's one of the greatest boxers. Very technical, different type of body and movement, I'm sure. And this is it's such a great compliment for you to really fight with him. My brother was a boxer, and he's actually he was also my brother's coach at one point in Varna. You know how things are connected. So it is a great privilege, and also you know, on the other side of the world, I mean, you know, Jack London was the writer, was a boxer, and there's a certain mentality which brings people from different walks of life, really, before to start boxing. And I think it's still, you know, maybe for the students to explain why really people go to boxing. I was in England, went to school there, and they say, oh yeah, boxing is really for working class, for people. You know, I don't think that's the case now, you know, to put people in a different category. So can you maybe tell us more? What do you think?
That's excellent.
It depends, because it's a very fine line what people think about boxers, wrestlers, the intellectual level and stuff. Please, yeah.
Yeah, with you know, how could I put it? With boxing, they're I'm just trying to give you a little better idea of. I just sort of lost track of that just for 1 second.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, just what was I going to what,
you know how people always say, you know, boxers and wrestlers, and, you know, it's a very like a working class, it's a very hard working sport. So, and we all knew that.
Okay, so I didn't come up with lots of money, you know, but I come from you know, I guess it would be sort of lower class, maybe lower middle class, and so we didn't have a lot of money. And there's a lot of sports out there that, like in Canada, let's say you want to go into hockey, well, you have to buy the kids skates and a stick and the equipment, and it's just so expensive. And so that was pretty much why I didn't go into that way, because we didn't have it. That wasn't an opportunity for me. We wouldn't have been able to afford me to go into that. So with boxing, it was very inexpensive. All I needed was a skipping rope and some hand wraps. They usually had gloves at the gym, so I didn't have to, you know, ask my mom for gloves and different things. So it was just one of those sports that a lot of people are coming from hard times and getting to boxing to try to make it outside and just try to make it in life. But if it's not like the kind of sport where it's like skiing, and it would be just being so expensive. So I had to, if I was going to be involved in any sport, it had to be something that was understandably something we could afford, and boxing fit that bill very well.
But the good thing that your mom did was to make sure you stay in school and to get an education. This was, I think it was like a backup plan. You know, just in case school doesn't work, then you can always, you have boxing, but if boxing doesn't work, then you have school. As that was great.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I was with boxing, you know, how could I put it to you? With my mom, and it just seemed like the best sport for me to do, and having me stay in school was just so important. I don't know how she was able to. I wanted to be a boxer so badly, so I did go to school, but man, oh man, it still was very difficult to commit to going to school for me. You know, that's all I wanted to do was box, and being such a small person, nobody had to. Like I was winning things like a Canadian championship and little things like that as an amateur fighter, but I was not looked at upon as being somebody who could make a living ever being a professional fighter, because I was so small, and there weren't very many small people in Canada. They're all big guys, and they all skate and play hockey. So myself, I was in a sport that wasn't even one of the top sports in Canada. So you know, just getting into boxing, it sure was. I had a lot of negativity. A lot of people didn't think I'd be able to accomplish a whole bunch, but I stuck to my plan, and I believed in myself, and that helped me to achieve some of these titles and things.
So it's great message for our students right there. Don't let anybody tell you what you cannot do. Right? If you have the will and the power to do something, you want to do it, and go for it. Don't let people you know, say, yes, you're good enough for this, that you're not good enough for you. You decide, you know, you have the power.
We have a question. What were some of the biggest obstacles that you had to overcome to get to where you are?
Excellent question. And I had a lot of obstacles. Initially, it was my size, because most boxers are usually quite a bit bigger than me. So there weren't a lot of smaller people for me to work out with and to what we call practice boxing, sparring in the rings. And we didn't have, there weren't that many small people, and it wasn't the kind of sport that was that focused on in Canada. It wasn't really focused on that much. That was for skiing and hockey and all the winter sports, and they did have baseball and stuff here too. But boxing wasn't one that was looked upon, and if you were going to be a boxer, they just expected not for the boxer not to be a tiny, 5-foot person, and to be able to make it. Like, I'm not a big sized guy like Muhammad Ali or some of the best fighters of all time. So, so they set limitations. A lot of people just would set limitations on what I thought I could accomplish. And I thought, no, I'm not, I can't. I feel I have a chance to do well in something. And I really went for it. I really set my goals and worked toward things. And eventually I used the motivation of proving people wrong to get better. So I proved people wrong. The doctors would say that, I'd always break my hands in a lot of my fights. So my hands would break, and they would tell me to retire, and I would just never give up. So, that's sort of just persistence and having a faith in yourself when other people don't can be a really hard thing. It's hard to if you have your close family and they only want you to do a sport as a hobby, and you think you can do it as a lifetime career. They seem to set limitations on. And but I wouldn't listen to anybody. I used their negative comments in a positive way, and I harnessed that negative energy and said, I'm going to prove you wrong. I'm going to go ahead and continue on with this. And I don't know how it's going to work out, but I prayed a lot, and it worked.
What a great message! That is awesome. Perseverance. Just keep going, right? And you said you broke your hand several times. And I understand doctors didn't want to release you to keep fighting, but you persisted.
Yes. It was about the. I had already been a professional fighter, and I broke it quite a number of times. So now it's like I'd have a fight, I'd break my hand, and then I'd have a rest, and then I'd have a fight, I'd break my hand, I'd have a rest. So it was about the 4th or 5th time in a row, and I wasn't world champion at that point. So the doctor says to me, well, Scotty, your hands are breaking all the time. I think it's time to retire. So, and I said, please, doctor, let me fight one more time. That one more time, I got a title shot, a chance for the world title. So not only did I win the title, but I kept that title for another 4 or 5 years after that. So I was really, really blessed that, I'm not saying never listen to your doctor, but I didn't let that bring me down to where I lost all my confidence. I retained a little bit of confidence, and no, I'm going to prove this doctor wrong, and I got an opportunity to fight for a world title, and I won, and I continued still breaking my hands, but I didn't let it slow me down too much.
That is great. So you retained your world title for like 5 years?
Yeah, about 4.5 years, I guess it was. Because I was breaking my hands all the time. I had a few other injuries, but I only had about 4, 5, 6 fights in that period of time. because it would take so long to recover from operations and different things. They had to put plates in my hand and fix things up. So I would have a fight, and then I would sometimes have 6 months, 8 months, a year off until I was able to fight again and be healthy enough. So but that protected me a lot too. So the not fighting, I'm the person who would fight every week if I could. Every week I'd have a fight if I could. But because I had the injuries, it kept some of the mileage down on my head. So your brain has a little bit of an odometer, I guess. So if you're getting hit and having fights and fights and fights, sometimes it gets quite a bit harder to get some words out. And so these periods of time that I had off actually helped me with the lack of getting hit as much, or helped not get hit as much as well. So
let's see, we have one more question. Go ahead.
Can you hear?
Yes, Julieta.
Yeah, airplane. I'm in Florida. It's an airplane here. 1 second. It passed. Yes.
Okay.
I want to ask Scotty again. Just even for the students, just to make a difference. You fought in the '88 Olympic Games. So this is an amateur sport. What is the difference for you in terms of feeling responsibility and everything, preparation? Of course, you're much younger, you know, when you went to the Olympics. And then you went to the professional, and your mom insisting when you started that you have to go to school. They're like those three kind of correlations. You know, for after that, you know, maybe you can continue with how important is the education, especially, you know, for scary sports like this.
I was at a crossroads. So one of the main differences in just with amateur boxing to professional boxing. So amateur boxing was only 3 rounds. So just a 3-round fight, 3-minute rounds with 1 minute in between. And once you turn pro, you have up to 12 rounds that you can fight a guy. So it gives you a little bit more time. I was not the fastest fighter of all time. My speed was not very good, but I could punch really hard. So I needed to wear people down and give myself an opportunity to be able to hit them. And sometimes it would take me some rounds to get close so I could do some damage. So the amateur fights, they were over so quick, and sometimes I didn't catch them. Like with Marinov fight, I wasn't able to hit him really good in the fight. So and all of a sudden it's over. But if I had fought him as a professional fighter over the course of 12 rounds, I may have had I would have had a lot better chance. I'm not saying I would have beat him, but I would have had a better chance to. So with that part, then we go into the Olympic Games. After the Olympic Games, like I could have stayed amateur, continued traveling the world, fighting in all, you know, more Olympic Games. I could have done that for another quite a bit of time. And I also would have, through what we called Sports Canada, where I would have been able to continue my education, and I would have had my education, post-secondary education, paid for. So that was so everybody wanted me to go back to school, and they didn't tell me to stop fighting, but they told me to just stay amateur and go ahead and so stay amateur and be able to continue traveling and representing my country. So I was at a crossroads because I wanted to be a professional fighter, and I had clashes with my family. They wanted me to go to school. I would have had all of it all paid for, which was very important. You know, I didn't come from a rich family, so it would have been very important. But so instead of that, I wanted to turn pro, and I jumped in my car and I drove down to Las Vegas, and to make it as a professional fighter. So I walked into the biggest company in Las Vegas. And here I'm a little guy from Canada, and they thought I was a leprechaun. little leprechaun guy. So, but they thought, you know, he drove all the way down here from Canada to be a fighter, and they gave me an opportunity to fight. So that was a really nice thing. But I gave up a lot on the educational part to take a chance at fighting as a pro, because once you turn pro, you can't go back to being an amateur fighter. So I missed out on some schooling and stuff that I post-secondary things, and so after my career is over, I didn't have, like I was so fortunate to graduate high school, but I didn't have any secondary education after that to go into other things. So it can be a little limiting. It can be very limiting, actually, because once boxing's over and it's like, well, now what can I do?
Right.
There's other things, but now what am I going to do? And everybody wants you to retire. You retire so you're healthy. Retire so you're healthy, so you remain healthy. But they don't tell you what to do after. And then your career's over. I did it for over 20 years, and then it's, well, now what do I have no idea what to do now. So
how old are you? How old were you when you finished with your career?
35.
35.
Yeah, that was a long time for a smaller guy. To most of the lighter weight classes, they tend to peak, to reach a pinnacle a little bit higher, a little bit quicker than bigger guys. So bigger guys, they have a slower metabolism or something. I don't know, but if you're a big heavyweight, you might be able to fight well into your 30s and into your 40s, like Big George Foreman. He was a great fighter. And with smaller fighters, they're usually done in their earlier to mid 20s. But I was able to keep that career going on until I was about 34, 35.
So we have a question. We have one of our students who says, thank you, T. Marine. She said, today's her birthday. Happy birthday, T. Marine. And it just happened that she loves boxing. She loves boxing so much, and her grandfather was a boxer, but she never got a chance to ask him, what would you say you were proud of your, what is it? So would you say you were proud of your choice of becoming a boxer when you were little? So was it a good choice to become a boxer?
You know, it's really interesting as to what, see, I'm being so small. I was like 105 pounds and 105 pounds soaking wet. So the only other thing that I wanted to get into about the same time that boxing entered my life was horse racing. I wanted to be a jockey. So that was sort of one of the things that I would have liked to have seen how good of a jockey I would have been. But with boxing, it was, it was so dear to my heart. So continuing on with that was really, really, my family tried, once they knew I was locked in and I wanted to become a good fighter. They pretty much supported me. They did want me to retire at times, but I still had some support, and those were good things. So was it the right choice to box? Well, you should, if you listen to some of my interviews that I had, 35 years ago, I spoke a little quicker and I didn't pause when I'm speaking. So yeah, there's a little bit of wear and tear that happens with boxing. So, but then again, I could have gotten hurt very seriously being on a horse. So would I rather fight a 112-pound guy, or do I want to be on a 1,200-pound horse going as fast as it can go? So I don't know. I think I made the right decision.
Yeah, yes, you did, and you became a champion. Ms. Ramirez, go ahead.
I was just wondering, when you started boxing and you found a coach, what was the coach suggesting to you, being at 5 foot, 105 pounds, when you went into the gym? What were his initial thoughts of you, and how did he start coaching you at the age of 15? I don't know if I made myself clear.
That's so nice. Yeah, well, there's a little bit of a story to that. In fact, hopefully I have a little time. So with my coach, uh, he didn't start as my coach. So I had some other people in the gym just helping me out a little bit. But we had a coach in the gym, excuse me, the main coach. And every time I'd work so hard to try to get his attention, I couldn't get his attention. He just didn't want, uh, it seemed like I talked to him a couple times, but he would pretty much more so ignore me while we were working out. But he would always have his back to me, and I'd be hitting the heavy bag, trying to get his attention and hitting it hard. And I thought he was ignoring me the whole time, and having his back to me. But he wasn't looking at me, but he was listening to how hard I was working, listening to how hard I was working the bag. And he turned around one day, and he stuck out his hand, and he had a really big smile, and he said, "Well, I'm going to be your coach now, son." And so he had a lot of confidence that I could he wanted a fighter to go to the Olympics. He had never had a fighter that went to the Olympics, and he thought I had a chance. He had all the confidence in me that I was able to do it. And I still don't know how I was able to get up to that level as an amateur fighter, because I was pretty slow, but I could punch hard, and I had a professional style. I didn't have a very technical amateur boxing style. It was very strong, and just punching hard and being very aggressive. And that was more so for being a professional fighter. But I did pretty well with that style as best as I could as an amateur fighter too. So, but my coach didn't, he ignored me, and then he turned around, was my coach, and then the hard work really started at that point. So he knew I could be an amateur, because we had amateur weight divisions that were at 106 pounds, I guess. So we had a chance, and we did it. We got to the Olympics, and no, I didn't win, but I assumed I was going to win, because I beat most of the guys except for the fighter Ivalo Marinov. He was the only one that ended up beating me before the Olympics.
What a great accomplishment! You just the Olympics, just to be there, it's such an amazing accomplishment. And then you made it to the quarterfinals. That's awesome. We have about 3 more minutes, maybe even.
Yeah, just to add that Scotty was competing. 98 Olympic Games were one of the most difficult Olympic Games. This is before the breakup of the Soviet Union. So you have the top guns of the systems, like, Soviet Union, the Eastern Europeans, the Cubans, you have the Cubans there, on the other side in the amateur boxing. So this is it's really fantastic. I don't underestimate, Barcelona 92nd or after that, but this is before the breakup of the whole system, nice. The Soviet system. So that was the competition between the countries, US, Soviet Union. Who is going to win? We've seen the movie Rambo, Rocky. I didn't say Rambo, Rocky. Rocky is a great example of what those clashes were. So you were in Rocky, basically.
Yeah,
you were in Rocky.
A neat thing is I was able to find that fight tape. That fight tape with myself and Marinov is on YouTube. I put it on YouTube. So if you wanted to watch it on YouTube, it would be on there, as well as some of my other fights. But that was one fight, so you can see me swinging and missing a whole bunch.
That's okay. So we just want to finish. We have 1 minute. What message do you want to send out to our future fighters, our athletes, our students to go on
I think
holidays?
Yeah, I really think I'll stick to one of my sayings. Like, there's so many motivational quotes out there, but for me, never let anyone set a limitation on what you think you can accomplish. If you think you can accomplish something, and it doesn't have to be in a sport, it can be outside of sport, it can be just in school, in a different kind of a job, but setting some goals, some realistic, smaller goals that you can work toward, and achieve a smaller goal, and then go for another goal, and go by the time, it doesn't take that long, and a little bit of perseverance on your part, and continuing to try hard, you can usually accomplish. You have a better chance of accomplishing what you set out for.
Very good message. Thank you. Well, everyone, you guys could type on the chat, or you can unmute yourself and say thank you. Or if you have any last questions, you can do that as well. So yeah, go ahead and unmute yourself and say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So welcome.
Thank you to all my students. Thank you from all my students. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Very welcome.
Thank you again for having us.
Thank you, Ms. Rocio, for joining us. We appreciate you.
No, I appreciate everyone. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays to everybody. Yes.
Thank you all. Be safe. Thank you, Scotty.
Thank you.
And Ms. Camacho for setting this up.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us. Appreciate it.
I'll see you next year, Ms. Camacho. See you in advisory?
Yes. Advisory, no.
No?
No advice. Oh, what's happening in advisory?
No, maybe it's Thursday. I thought it was today.
Yeah, no, maybe it's Thursday. I'm out.
Okay.
Sorry. One thing at a time.
Hey, I don't know where I'm going, what I'm doing.
No, thank you. We'll figure it out.
Okay.
Yeah, bye-bye. If anybody has a question and you guys want to unmute yourself, you can go ahead and do it if you want. I know we have like a minute before your next class. But yeah, you can unmute yourself. My class, you guys were amazing. And actually, but the ones that are here, I forgot, I was gonna take a picture.
Do we continue with, or we have to disconnect?
You can, no, we have to disconnect. We had like 10 minutes break, and then I have another class. It's advisory. So Scotty may join us at 11:50, right? What do you think? How do you feel? Thank you guys, everybody. You can go now. Thank you so much.
11.
Thank you.
Yes, it's 11:50. How do you feel? What do you think, Mr. Olson or Scotty?
Oh, I'm absolutely fine. Yeah, awesome. This is fun. Talk a little bit.
Very inspiring just to listen and to talk, and you know, to see both sides of the world. Even though I've been here for a long time, but
yeah.
Even in our sport, we always say, you know, when you say you are fighting, of course, you know, there's a difference, and you have this professional drive and power. We always say in wrestling, we say Europeans, you know, from the other side, they wait for the chances. You know, they're always like more conservative and everything. Americans, you know, you're America, this America, you take chances. They're always like driving, go, 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 go. And, you know, those are the two different styles, actually. I think maybe you clash when you have those fights, but you fought the greatest. You fought the greatest, and it's just.
Yeah, it was so funny because they had this big gong. That was so every time I was swinging, I'd miss, and I was trying to hit him so hard with Marinov, and every time I would miss, boom, and they hit the gong, and it was just taking all my confidence away. But it was still. They really revered this fight, the Marinov. He was so good, and it was nice. It was nice to fight a good fighter. You know, I would.